Welcome back to Next Normal. Together with me, I have a very exciting guest, and which is Loubna, the CEO from OKRA. And Loubna, my first wish to you is Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you, Dario. Happy Women's Day for everyone. The theme of this year is about breaking the bias. And I think that's very important, not only for human beings, but also for machines and artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. So the title of today's session is Why Explainability is Critical for Decision Support Systems in Pharma, Myth versus Reality. I think a very exciting title. Before we deep dive into our conversation, I would like to mention that Loubna is a very young leader shaping the EU policy advisory of many countless boards, and one of few genuine experts in the field of AI in pharma, in life science industry. But please, Loubna, make a short introduction of yourself. So,
Dario, now I feel the pressure is high. So hi, everybody. So I'm Loubna Bouarfa. I'm an engineer by background, applied artificial intelligence into healthcare since 2007. And I'm the CEO and founder of OKRA.ai. So we apply artificial intelligence into pharma and life sciences to reshape the go-to-market, commercial, medical, and market access space, because it's very exciting space to work on, to make from potential molecules, blockbuster molecules with artificial intelligence, and support the soldiers in the front line, the field teams, the executive teams, to drive better decisions for this a very important industry.
Thank you, Loubna. Let's deep dive into the conversation, and let's start with the basics, with the foundations. And let's discuss why actually AI is important for pharma, for our industry. And can you give maybe some real examples why you think this might be the game changer of our industry?
Artificial intelligence is, let's first start, what does it really mean for in general, and then we can deep dive in pharma. So it's systems that self-learn. So they have this self-learning capability from data, and that are able to display intelligent behavior by analyzing the environment. The environment is the data that we have in legacy systems that we generate from third-party data, and then spots patterns that can be behavioral, that can be related to specific disease areas, and allow us to offer suggestions to achieve specific goals, and providing explanations as well. Because if we want to change human behavior, we should not just tell them this is what the set of actions we need to do, but also why, in an automated way. So it's not in a rule-based way, or not in trying to take our human understanding of how the world works and put it there, but in an evidence-based way. And machines are like humans. They are, we are learning from the history, we are learning from data, and we have a memory, we have a conscious and unconscious memory. We store information in a hard disk, which is unconscious, and it's more on the awareness mind, where we can kind of use that information to react in our world. And technologies like AI, if you look to the life sciences and the healthcare industry in specific, as one of my favorite quotes by a group of Oxford researchers that was published 2 years back in the BMG journal, they said we don't need AI to pass the Turing test to be helpful in healthcare. The equivalent of Turing test will be, in aerospace engineering, would be an airplane that flies like a bird, which is not what we need. We had to build airplanes that respect aerodynamics laws and didn't flap wings like birds. And the same for healthcare and life sciences. We need artificial intelligence systems that do not think like doctors or like reps, but learn from data to support decisions of those teams. And if you look today at how life sciences is driven, it's mostly, there are different stages. The speed has not been an element. How can we move faster? And we have someone joining us. I see. Hi, Paul. I think Dario is okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Oh, great. So so if you ask me what is AI changing about industry, first of all, is really bringing that information together to support decision making across all the stages in the pipeline, and drive better decisions. And the second element is speed, bringing that speed into taking decisions, that we can move faster, that we can make decisions faster. And another important element, and that is for the decision makers, with artificial intelligence, it's all about how we can meet certain outcomes, right? So profit is one, but there are many outcomes. Serving a world growing populations to be 10 billion by 2050, becoming sustainable by 2050. So there are multiple outcomes, and this technology allows us to train algorithms to help us meet multiple outcomes at one time and not just one outcome. So, and this is not across the only the go-to-market piece, but also in the early drug development, as well as on the later stages, on the commercialization and so forth. So I think we are very, very lucky to be in this period of time and to be experiencing this fourth industrial shift that is happening right now, not across all industries, but specifically for healthcare, as it has always been evidence-driven industry, one of the early ones, and where explainability is very key to take decisions.
Thank you, Loubna. I see Paul also joined. Hi, Paul. Can you hear us?
Hi, I can hear you, but not see you. But I can hear you, which is great. I'm sorry for being late to the session. Had some technical issues. My apologies.
So the stage is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, and see me.
Correct.
We also can see you, Paul.
So maybe we can proceed with the conversation and ask Loubna about the explainability and why it is important.
Please do. Please do, as I'm afraid I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry.
No worries. Loubna?
So the explainability. Okay, so the question is, what is explainability and why is it important for life sciences and pharma? So for me, explainability is always, that piece of information that helps us get very close to the truth. I mean, so many of us has been there, right? So we know some set of actions will not lead us to where we want, but we still do it because of habit or because it's so hard to change behavior. And then there is that one piece of information that when it comes our way, we can't deny it, right? And that is explainability to me. If we nail that piece of information that just give you the truth, how it is, that is explainability. So, with artificial intelligence, we can provide as many suggestions as we can to people to improve their outcomes, to meet their targets. But if we don't give that piece of information that triggers the brain to change, the hard disk to change, and to change behavior, it's just like throwing water in the sand. It's just like useless. So explainability goes, and I keep saying this, whether it's in the when in policy discussions at the AU or in other groups, it's not how we interpret how algorithms work. It's not interpretability. It's completely different. Explainability is about how the algorithms came up to the prediction, to that outcome. Why is it important that we need to do this set of actions to change this outcome? For example, if we have 100 data points to be considered to obtain an outcome, it is possible that not all the data have the same weight to the creation of the prediction. And what we call at OKRA the explainability 1.0, which is the normal explainability, it tells us or tells the users what are the reasons behind that prediction, what are the contributing factors, and to what degree each factor contributed to that particular prediction. So it might not give that piece of information that changed the mindset, this level of explainability, but it does give all the ingredients for the user, all the correlations in the data that can support that change in behavior. And that is very, very important. And that's why we moved, and maybe later we can discuss about explainability 2.0, which completely different story. But just looking at this level of explainability 1.0, if your doctor prescribes you a certain drug, you are more or less going through a process that he should know why this is important. He should have all the evidence, and you trust on his opinion and the science that led him to take that decision. And this is our industry. That is the key of our industry. Sometimes I tell people, it's not about the power of the algorithm to predict only. The power of explainability is much more important, because we give that evidence, especially when that speed element is not there. So we need the reasons behind it. And that is really in the backbone of our industry. Our industry is being evidence-based from the start. And when we apply AI systems, explainability should be one of the key pillars in the implementation.
Thank you, Loubna. Next question. Let's become much more technical. And this is, can you walk us or talk us through the technical transparency in relation to explainability and the difference between correlations and causation?
For sure. So if we look to transparency, as I said before, explainability is not transparency. Transparency is how the machine algorithms designed, the design choices, how the modeling, the regularization part of the algorithm, how we define features, how we train the models, and that is the transparency. It's about the machine learning design choices and the underlying assumptions. Then when it comes to explainability, it's understanding the reasons behind the predictions, behind the suggestions, because suggestions can go a level beyond predictions. It's a simulation of scenarios that tells you this is what you need to do. So providing the reasons behind the decision-making process and the relationship between the input factors and the output factors. So that is two different elements. And if we look to what is exactly the relation of explainability with causation, that's when we touch upon the explainability 2.0. So at OKRA, we've been working on the forefront of bringing explainability to that level of that piece of information that when it's there, you can't deny it. It's difficult for the human brain, for the medical affairs, for the commercial teams, for the market access teams to say, we're going to do it differently. And that is where causation comes in. Causation is what variables or covariates lead to the outcome directly. So causal inferences enable us to go one step further beyond the correlation, which is in the explainability 0.1, and also on the interpretability, and figure out the what if, gain insight into what would happen if we decide to change the outcome for our model. Understanding the cause and effect would make existing AI systems smarter and more efficient, while giving actually the user the option to act on the model, which is already so efficient in predicting the outcome. And prediction would no longer be static, but flexible. And this would give the user the ability to understand how to change the input features for them to produce a different outcome. So imagine this applies to not just on the commercialization stage, but also on the early stage for clinical trials. How can you redesign your clinical trials to be able to get a better price? How to redesign your marketing strategy to get to a better sales. And it is that is what we call explainability 2.0. That is what we call causal inference, and really bridging the gap between the prediction and this decision-making process, inferring the piece of information that's going to change the mindset, but also allowing the user to simulate more scenarios, going one step beyond just understanding what the reasons are, but being proactive to simulate and to understand this is the key ingredients where I can change outcomes.
Right. Thank you, Loubna. So what is then explainability 2.0? You mentioned this term a couple of times, so very curious to learn actually how the pharma should look after the explainability 2.0.
So pharma should look at it as I said, that piece of information that we cannot deny, whether you are working on commercial teams or medical teams or market access teams, or even earlier, that piece of information you derive around, this is the key doctors I need to be talking to prior to launch, or this is the key parameters I need to change on my clinical trials prior to launching this drug. So that piece of information, and given the reasons why, that will be game-changing. At the moment, we are acting based on gut feel, based on previous experience. We have experienced team that they have that intuition inside, but especially because of the things changing, we are in a different world post-COVID, that experience has been challenged. How can we change behavior? How can we, whether we are working on one therapeutic area and we move into another, but what a piece of information can we give to the teams so that they can make the outcomes faster and change the behavior faster? And that's where Explainability 2.0 comes in. So first, identifying the causality, which elements will affect different pricing decisions, which outcomes will affect different market share prediction, and then bringing this to the user. And then the second step, allowing the users to simulate scenarios to meet even better outcome. So then the truth becomes so obvious. So that is where every one of us has been in the past, having the gut feel, I should do it differently, but they still don't. Now we bring that piece of information that you cannot deny it anymore. It's there.
Thank you. Paul, can you hear us now?
I can. I'm sorry, I've been having technical issues, but I've been able to hear most of what Loubna says. Thank you for explaining this explainability concept, Explainability 2.0 concept. Loubna, I would love to just hear about what you think the implications will be for companies that are trying to apply these principles. How could it affect their kind of everyday work, in your opinion? What could they do with this that they maybe couldn't do before? I think this whole explainability is vital, and it's so fantastic that that you guys are pioneering this just as much as you are pioneering the intelligence of the AI itself. And I would love to just hear more about the impact that you think it will have.
Sure, thank you, Paul. I'm so happy you finally could join on the other side of the world.
I can't see you, unfortunately, but I'm enjoying what you're saying.
So I think just imagine that we are in this world, as I told Dario before, where we're close to the truth, but we still can't see it. We can't touch it. There is missing pieces of information that we can't touch, and therefore we still stuck in this virtuous circle of making the same mistakes every day. So imagine there is this algorithm that helps you get to that piece of information that will allow you as a person, as an organization, to change your behavior in a nutshell, very quickly. And that is what explainability is about. So imagine we have that in life sciences, in pharma, having the cause and effect elements in front of our eyes. Not only does the AI already bring that legacy element, that brain that learns from all the past data and brings information to the teams, and we have that as a baseline, and but we also will have this explainability elements, the reasons, the missing pieces of information highlighted to our teams. So it's just coming from a dark world to a light world where you can see the almost full picture. I can't see 100% the full picture, but you can see all the elements, and the people will be empowered to, when you go to a meeting, either with the regulator, when you go to a meeting with the doctors, you have those elements, and it is just a different situation than before. You are not left in the dark. It's not a lot of information. You don't know what is important, but you know what matters and why you need to do a set of actions. And if you still don't change behavior, how long you're gonna stand? You maybe the first time, the second time, but after 3 times, you will realize I should change now. And just bringing that elements, all the elements together, bringing what we call the confounders in front of the teams, what really matters, it's going to change the industry to become much faster, much more responsive, but also meeting the outcomes that they want. And it's not only about profit, as I said, it's not just profit that we are aiming to in this industry, but also how can we meet the needs of a population becoming 10 billion people by 2050. So the size of the population, how can we increase our target population. And it will be the beauty of this algorithms. It can have multiple outcomes, not just one outcome. It can learn from the data to drive multiple outcomes simultaneously.
So just to expand slightly on this idea of multiple outcomes. So I understand what you mean. We're not just aiming for profit in our industry. We have to be sensitive to so many more other things. And I do understand that. Is that what you mean by multiple outcomes, having these different targets and being able to achieve them all through the greater transparency? I know it's not about transparency, but you are providing transparency as well. Is that right?
Yeah, so absolutely. So I think if you look how pharma was pre-COVID and after COVID, it was a kind of in silos, commercial departments in silos, medical departments in silos, market. So it was, and then we see that the walls are falling down post-COVID, that we are moving towards an orchestration of all the different teams, because the outcome is finally one and it's serving the patients. And so how can we, and the fourth industrial revolutions, those algorithms with artificial intelligence allow us to have multiple outcomes. How can we achieve and profit and higher target population and reduce side effects, for example? So you can define a number of outcomes to meet with the same. So what you have, instead of having singular intelligence that don't talk to each other, you have collective intelligence, and you drive the communication with HCPs, and you drive the communication with KOLs to augment the scientific share of voice, on the commercial side to augment the sales, and from a market access perspective to drive a better or a larger size of target population. So, and that is the positive. That's where we're moving. It's one thing. It's one goal. It's not multiple goals.
I love this idea of collective intelligence because it almost points to a future where you could imagine, you know, maybe it wouldn't happen in the short term, but you could imagine that you could share much more with your actual trusted customer than you currently do. At the moment, you don't really share any of your internal metrics at all. But with this kind of transparency and knowledge that the data is authentic and it's explained so that people understand it, you could actually end up having a much stronger, more trust-based relationship with the HCP and even other stakeholders going forward. It would be amazing for our industry to kind of take this first step with a company like yours, and then obviously be able to see that as the future. I think it gives us a whole new level of possibility because, as I'm sure you're aware, Loubna, many healthcare systems, for example, the NHS in the UK is a good example, are trying to move more towards partnership models rather than kind of push-based rep models. And this actually will allow that, right, in the future?
Yeah, I believe the future will be more around collective intelligence across ecosystems with this industry. It's not even one single within the single company, but before we move there, I call it the spring jump. First, we need to have that collective intelligence as one company and to drive that we are working towards the same goal. And then we move then we move to a collective intelligence across multiple stakeholders. But if we don't solve, it's just like with countries and geopolitics, if you don't solve the problems internally first, how can you move to collaboration? So first, we need to sort it out in-house.
Well, we can all see what happens when that's not got right. I never thought we'd make that comparison today, but it's actually very, very a good thing. And this lack of transparency on all counts, lack of understanding and explainability, as you rightly say, is what causes so many problems in the world generally. And if we can create that microcosm within our organizations, as you say, we start by making sure internally we have the right amount of understanding, and then this gives us the platform to move beyond that in the future. I think that's really, really exciting. And I'm not surprised that you were a pioneer of this kind of thinking.
Thank you, Paul.
So I believe we only have 1 or 2 minutes left. Is there anything else that you feel that our audience should really understand if they want to take this journey with you, if they want to take a voyage of explainability? Obviously, they can work with you directly on your systems, but just very keen to just understand what resources, learning, understanding they could perhaps take to really appreciate all the things that you're saying in a bit more depth.
I want to tell every pharmaceutical executive, whether they are on any team, you are the catalyst of innovation. It's not us, because you bring the innovation internally, and without your initiative, we will not be able to innovate. We will be innovators, but outside, in another planet. With you, we can change the world. And bringing this innovation, it doesn't mean, I know you need to balance between legacy systems and expenditure on new innovation. It doesn't need to be big. It starts small, problem focused. And what we can guarantee is that you have automated pipelines, AI pipelines, to support your commercial teams, medical teams, and market access teams, driven by explainability. And this is the future. So you can be the first one bringing this innovation and changing your company, changing whole industry. It takes courage, but also it takes spirit for innovating. And I'm sure there is. We have clients that did this in the past, and would love to work with more people.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is so important. Most people think that to adopt what you're talking about requires some huge Herculean kind of effort across the entire company, but the truth is that starting small, starting specific is still usually the best way to go. And it's great that you're willing to work with companies in that way, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, sorry, go on.
No, I always also we believe that our clients need to be problem driven. You don't want to be solution driven. You need to be problem driven. You need to drive this change, and we're very happy to be working with our clients on this edge.
Fantastic, Loubna. I very much hope that is the case. I really hope that anyone listening takes Loubna up on that excellent offer. And I believe we're out of time now, so really appreciate everyone giving us the time. Apologies that I was late to the session, but I'm sure you got a lot from Loubna nonetheless, as she is fantastic if you hadn't already noticed. So really great to have you, and I'll hand over to the next session now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Dario. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.